What's up, everybody? My name is Mr. G, and I'm broadcasting to you again from my backyard. Today, we're going to be talking about bacteria versus viruses, which I think is very relevant to the times we're going through right now. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain the differences between a virus and bacteria. What you're going to need is a sheet of paper and a pencil. So go ahead and grab that now, and when you're ready, click continue. All right, so the essential question for today is why can we treat strep throat with antibiotics, but not COVID-19? Go ahead and write your essential question at the top of your paper, just as I wrote on this model. When you're done, click continue. All right, so in order to understand our essential question, why can we treat strep throat with antibiotics, but not COVID-19? We need to understand the differences between bacteria and a virus. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and we're going to represent those differences in a chart. What I need you to do is I need you to go ahead and copy the chart underneath the essential question that I just circled. When you're done, I need you to click continue. All right, so as you know, we are going to be looking at the difference between bacteria and the virus. First, I really just want you to visualize what I'm talking about first. Therefore, what I need you to do is I need you to copy in the pictures that are represented below on the first row of your chart, next to where it says picture. We're going to go ahead and do that. When you're done, I need you to click continue. All right, so as you drew all of those pictures and you labeled them, what I want you to see is that bacteria and virus, where they're both very small, they're both microscopic, they have different structures inside of them. All right? Bacteria has ribosomes, a cell wall, and DNA. Virus has a protective coating on the outside. It's not necessarily a cell wall. And then it has DNA and RNA, but it's not all that complicated, and it's actually much smaller than bacteria. So the structures are different. What I want you to do is I want to make sure you understood what I just showed you, and therefore let's do a quick check for understanding. Which of the following is not present in a virus? Please just refer to your picture that you drew and go ahead and answer this. All right, so which is not present in a virus? Well, if you looked at the picture of the virus, there is a protein coating, so that's a protective coating, so we're going to slash that one. A cell wall and ribosomes. I did not see those in the virus, and therefore, virus does not contain cell walls and ribosomes. That is bacteria, which is going to be important later on in this lesson to know that. All right, so the second row is talking about the main parts of both bacteria and virus. So we have bacteria on the left and then a virus on the right. I want you to go ahead and copy this in, and when you're done, I want you to click continue. All right, so as you can see, the main parts of a bacteria are ribosomes, which help to reproduce. They help the actual bacteria to reproduce and make other bacteria. There's a cell wall, and that gives it protection, and then there's DNA. On the other hand, a virus also has DNA, and it has this protein coating right here, but it is not quite a cell wall. All right, it's just a protective coating over that virus. So let's do a quick check, and let's see if you know if a bacteria did not have ribosomes, what wouldn't it be able to do? Go ahead and answer this question. When you're done, we will go over it. All right, so if a bacteria did not have ribosomes, what would it not be able to do? Well, protect itself. Well, that wasn't listed as the function of the ribosome, so we're going to slash that one. Reproduce, that was listed as the reason that ribosomes exist, but let's look at letter C. It says fly. We know that's wrong. So yes, ribosomes enable bacteria to reproduce because they are the structures that build things inside of the cell. All right, so since we are talking about reproducing, we want to know, how does a bacteria reproduce? So bacteria, I'm just going to label it B. How does it reproduce compared to a virus? Well, I want you to go ahead and I want you to copy these answers into your chart, and then we're going to talk about it. All right, so this is actually a really, really important difference between bacteria and virus. So in bacteria, the reproduction is done via cell division, where one cell divides into two identical cells, and that's how they reproduce. You can see that in this picture or this GIF on the bottom. You can see we start out with one cell and it splits to two, and then those cells split, and those cells split, and those cells split. It's able to reproduce on its own by splitting and making more bacteria. That's why bacterial infections can spread so quickly. On the other hand, a virus needs a host cell. What does that mean, a host cell? Well, a host is something that contains something else inside of it. So what happens is, if you look at this little GIF down here, you'll be able to see that we start on the bottom with one virus. All right. Now, that virus right here goes over to any cell, could be a human cell, and injects its protein into that cell. Sometimes it enters into the cell, and it uses that cell to create more viruses. So actually, your own cell, if you're infected with the virus, is creating more viruses. And then they come out when the cell fills up, and you have a whole bunch more virus, and it destroys your cell in the process. So they reproduce very differently. A virus can't reproduce via cell division. It needs a host cell in order to reproduce. All right, so let's go ahead and do a little quick check. How do viruses reproduce? A, they reproduce by one cell dividing into two new cells. B, they reproduce by sexual reproduction. Or C, they reproduce by entering a cell and then using that cell to make new viruses. Go ahead, answer this question, and when you're done, I want you to click. We're going to go over it. All right, so how do viruses reproduce? So let's look at A. They reproduce by one cell dividing into two new cells. So one cell dividing into two new cells. That keyword dividing, remember we said cell division was not viruses, that was bacteria. So we're going to cross that out. B, they reproduce by sexual reproduction. Okay, so sexual reproduction. Remember that single-celled organisms do not reproduce by sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction is when you have two parents and you have sex cells. We do not have sex cells here, but let's just look at the last one to make sure that this is not the answer. C, they reproduce by entering a cell and then using that cell to make new viruses. Well, I think if we look at C, entering a cell, what do we call that cell that it enters? A host cell. And then using that to make new viruses. Absolutely, C would be your answer. All right, so let's get into some examples of bacterial infections versus viral infections. Bacterial infections are on the left side, and then viral, those are on the right side. I want you to go ahead and copy this in. When you're done, click continue. All right, so strep throat, that's a bacterial infection. I'm sure a lot of us have had it, and gives our throat a lot of aching. Pneumonia is also a bacterial infection that affects your lungs, respiratory system. And then food poisoning, I'm sure that a lot of us If not all of us have had some sort of food poisoning that upsets our stomach. E. coli can be a bacteria that can cause food poisoning. Salmonella is another one that can cause food poisoning. Those are all bacterial infections. Viral infections, on the other hand, like the flu, that's a viral infection. COVID-19, what we're experiencing right now, is also a viral infection. And HIV and AIDS, that is a viral infection as well. And the difference between them really lies in how they are treated. Once somebody has these infections, how they are treated. And we're going to get into that in a second as to what the difference is and then really why. So let's go ahead and do this quick check. What is one key difference between COVID-19 and strep throat? A, COVID-19 is a viral infection while strep throat is bacterial. B, COVID-19 is harmful to humans while strep throat isn't. Or C, strep throat is caused by COVID-19. Go ahead and answer this question, and when you're done, we'll go over it. All right, so what is one key difference between COVID-19 and strep throat? Well, let's remember that COVID-19 was a viral infection. Strep throat was bacterial. All right, so let's go from the top. COVID-19 is a viral infection while strep throat is bacterial. Well, we just said that, so let's put a maybe. Let's just make sure the other answers don't make sense. B, COVID-19 is harmful to humans while strep throat isn't. I think we know that strep throat gives us a sore throat. It's definitely harmful to humans, and COVID-19 we already know is as well, so that could not be the answer. And C, strep throat is caused by COVID-19. That was never said in our lesson. A is our answer. COVID-19 is a viral infection. Strep throat is bacterial. All right, so we're going to get into the treatment and prevention of bacterial infections versus viral. Okay. And what I want you to do is go ahead and copy this in. When you're done, click continue. Okay. So let's look at the differences in prevention and treatment of a bacterial infection versus a viral infection. Well, let's first look at the similarities. You can see that in prevention category, there's a lot of similarities between both of them. Washing our hands, really important. That's why people keep stressing that we need to wash our hands during COVID-19 pandemic. Also, there are vaccines, which means, shots like vaccinations against both viral infections. And right here is representing a vaccine. But vaccines can also come in the form of pills. The flu is an example of something that has a vaccine that is viral. And for bacterial infections, tuberculosis is bacterial, and it still has a vaccination. Vaccinations just help your body to defend itself. It helps your body ramp up its immune system to defend itself against these pathogens. The difference really lies, though, is if it's actually in your body already, and we have to treat it. So for bacterial infections, the treatment can be done through antibiotics. Pills that you can take that basically attack the bacteria at its cell wall or its ribosomes to prevent growth and to prevent the bacteria from reproducing. In a viral infection, the treatment actually can't be done through antibiotics because the viruses do not have the same parts, the same organelles that a bacterial cell has, like cell walls and ribosomes, and they don't reproduce in the same way. So antibiotics do not work. Antibiotics have nothing to attack on a virus. Your own immune system is the only thing that can help you. And that's why it's so important to stay healthy, stay hydrated, take your vitamin C to prevent those viruses from really attacking hard. Your immune system is going to have to help you out. All right, so let's go and figure out which of the following statements is true. Is it A, while both viral and bacterial infections can be prevented, viruses cannot be treated by antibiotics? B, Both bacteria and viruses can be treated by antibiotics. Or C, washing your hands will not destroy a virus. Go ahead, pick the statement that is true, and then we'll go over it. All right, so which of the following statements is true? While both viral and bacterial infections can be prevented, viruses cannot be treated by antibiotics. That one matches up with our notes, so let's put a maybe next to it. Let's check the other two. Both bacteria and viruses can be treated by antibiotics. Well, we know that's not true because we know that viruses cannot be treated by antibiotics. C, washing your hands will not destroy a virus. That's also not true. A would be our correct answer. All right, so what I want you to do, I want you to flip your paper over, and I want you to go ahead and draw this Venn diagram on the back. Bacteria goes on the left side, viruses go on the right. When you're done, click continue. All right, so we're going to do a little comparing and contrasting of bacteria versus viruses. What you're going to do is on the bottom, you have a word bank. I want you to go ahead and I want you to write each of the phrases or words in that word bank. I want you to put it under either bacteria, if it only applies to bacteria, under virus, if it only applies to virus. And if it applies to both, I want you to put it here in this middle section. I want you to go ahead and I want you to do this on your own. And when you're done, I want you to click continue, and then we'll go over it together. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go over this together. So, number one, reproduce by dividing. So we know that that would be your bacteria with cell division. They can reproduce via dividing. Number two, cell wall and ribosomes. Which one has a cell wall and ribosomes? We know that's also a bacteria. Strep throat. What is that? Is that a virus or is that bacteria? Well, that's bacterial infection. If you looked at your notes. Contain DNA. That applies to both of them. They both contain DNA. Number five, COVID-19. Is that a virus or a bacteria? Well, that is virus. Coronavirus. Number six, prevented by hand washing. That would be both of them. Number seven, reproduce in a host cell. That is only a virus. They need a host cell to go ahead and create more viruses. 8, prevented by vaccines. Well, that would actually, that says it here on virus, but that should actually go under in the middle column. So if you put it in the under virus, that should go in the middle column. All right. And then number 9, treated with antibiotics. That would only be bacteria. So go ahead, fix whatever needs to be fixed. Make sure number 8 goes in the middle column because they both can be prevented by vaccines. All right, so let's get to our essential question right here. Why are antibiotics effective against bacteria? Well, if you look here, antibiotics attack the cell walls and the ribosomes. Some of the antibiotics attack cell walls, some attack ribosomes in bacteria, preventing the reproduction and ultimately destroying the bacteria. So they can't reproduce, they can't make more of each other, and they end up dying. That's why antibiotics are so effective against bacteria, because it has the parts that the antibiotics can attack. On the other hand, they're not effective against viruses because viruses do not have ribosomes or cell walls. They really only have that DNA inside of them, and they have that protective coating. Therefore, antibiotics do not have anything to attack on a virus, and they're ineffective. They do not affect the virus because they do not have the same organelles, the same parts that are affected by antibiotics. What I want you to do is I want you to answer the essential question in a few sentences. All right? And that question is, why can we treat strep throat with antibiotics but not COVID-19? Go ahead, take a few minutes, and when you're done, click continue. All right, so this is the end If you wrote something to the effect of viruses are not affected by antibiotics because they do not have cell walls and ribosomes, and antibiotics are able to attack the cell walls and ribosomes on a bacteria, preventing them from reproducing, that would have been correct, and that would have been a sufficient answer. Now, I want to thank everyone for being here. I really enjoy these lessons with you all, and I hope to see you the next time on Science with Mr. G. Thank you, everybody.